All right, got a story here about a high school senior attends a private Christian school in Maryland, and she's not going to get a chance to attend her graduation ceremony because she is pregnant. Do you believe that? Whatever happened to the great Christian value of forgiveness, forgiving people their trespasses? Yeah, a kid makes a mistake, and you're going to hold it against her like that? Ridiculous. Jim Walsh at Supertalk 1270 and supertalk1270.com. Let me give you the number here. It is 663-1270. Love to hear from you. High school senior attends a private Christian school in Hagerstown, Maryland, a town I know very well, by the way. It's a great little town. About an hour and a half out of Baltimore, kind of between Baltimore and D.C. Well, actually, it's a little bit to the north of both. It's about an hour and a half from either city. Kind of up there, nestled right on the edge of the mountains. Nice area. Not too far from Sharpsburg, where they have a really great Civil War battlefield. The Battle of Antietam took place there. It's a real nice place. But anyway, the Heritage Academy in Hagerstown said Maddie Runkles violated the school's code of conduct by having premarital sexual relations. Now, Ms. Runkles and her parents they say they're struggling to understand how their conservative Christian high school can teach and promote being pro-life and then turn their backs on one of their own. By the way, let's not make this into an abortion argument. It has nothing to do with it. The pro-life thing has nothing to do with the basic argument here. But like the girl says, it's a small school, and it's such a big deal. And she says, I'm the only one that's not going to be there that night to walk the stage. You know, you Bible thumpers who really think this school is doing the right thing, you have to ask yourself, as you supposedly, you keep saying you like to do, you have to say, well, what would Jesus do? Well, seems to me Jesus would forgive the sinner. Right? 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 I seem to recall hearing something about that when I was a kid going to my Sunday catechism. You know, I grew up Catholic, and we had what we called the Sunday catechism class, which is the Catholic version of Sunday school. And the nun or the priest gets up there, and they talk about stuff in the Bible. Yeah, Catholics do read the Bible. You know, we have they have their own special version of the Bible that has the spelling's a little different on things, like Noah's name is spelled No, N-O-E. That's the Catholic spelling. I don't know why. First time I heard about Noah in the ark, it was No in the ark. And hallelujah is alleluia, stuff like that. But basically, it's the Bible is the Bible, I guess. And one thing that sticks out in my mind is the fact that Jesus was a guy who was always forgiving people. They come to him and say, this fella, he did this, that, and the other. Okay, you sorry you did it? Yeah, okay, you're forgiven. Go and sin no more. Get out of here. I love you, you big lug. Well, seems to me that would be the, quote, Christian, unquote, thing to do. She's one of 15 seniors in her class, but she's going to be the only one who's not going to be able to walk across the stage because she is now 25 weeks pregnant. Now, what is that? I'm trying to figure out, what would be second trimester? I'm trying to figure out how many months that is. Well, 4 weeks in a month, roughly. A little over 6 months pregnant, or right around 6 months. Okay, she's second trimester heading into the third. So would she be showing at that point? I don't know. I don't care. Let that kid graduate. From what I hear, from what they're saying, she earned it. 4.0 GPA. And they're actually saying at this Heritage Academy, it's a non-denominational conservative Christian school. In the beginning of the school year, the students and the parents, they sign a pledge. Oh, isn't that adorable? And the pledge reads in part, This application extends to my actions, such as protecting my body by abstaining from sexual immorality and the use of alcohol, tobacco, illegal drug, yada, 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 yada. Fine. That's all well and good. But the girl's father believes the pledge can be interpreted differently. He says the difference is consistency. We have had other students that have had serious infractions, and they have walked in the past, and they are allowed to walk this year. Seems to me the right thing to do in this case is to forgive this kid. Say, we forgive you. You can walk. Seems to me that would be the most Christian thing you could possibly do under these circumstances. But then again, what do I know? Scott Runkles was president of the school's board, which tackles issues such as discipline. That's the girl's father. He resigned from the board once his daughter made the decision to inform the school she was pregnant. The school's principal believes Heritage Academy made an exception by allowing the girl to continue attending classes. What? In effect, he's saying, well, she should consider herself lucky we let her go to the classes. The principal says, I believe that every situation should be evaluated individually. When it comes to a precedent, I don't believe precedent always guides decisions. The 18-year-old girl said she chose to tell school officials in an effort to not deceive her teachers and peers. Well, hey, that's good, isn't it? The whole point is she's owning up to her mistake. How is that not a good thing? Well, you're going to say she shouldn't have made a mistake in the first place? Well, yeah, but I'd say that horse is kind of out of the barn, you know what I mean? Or that bun is out of the oven. Or it's in the oven. Whatever. 4.0 GPA student, high school senior. She's not going to be allowed to graduate to attend to walk in the ceremony with the cap and gown thing because she is pregnant. What a crock. What a bunch of malarkey. Number is 663-1270. Your comments are welcome. Jim Walsh here at Supertalk 1270, supertalk1270.com. She said you can't be pro-life, quote unquote, and then refuse to support the girl that keeps her baby. You know, she's kind of got a point there. Yeah. Now, the father of the girl's baby does not attend the academy. Doesn't say much at all about the father. Graduation is in 11 days. If Maddie is not allowed to walk, she said she'll have a separate private ceremony, and all her classmates will be invited. I hope they have a great party. If it comes to that, I hope she has a great party, invites all her friends, and they have a really good time. And I would say, I tell these good Christian people running this school to go jump in the lake and jump up something sideways. But hey, that's just me. You see, I can say that because I don't have to forgive them because I'm not a Christian. What would Jesus do? I don't care. I'm just holding them to their professed principles. And the professed principle, one of the most important principles, I think, of the Christian doctrine is forgiving people their trespasses. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I think I heard that one time in a Madonna record. I'm not sure. 663-1270. Jim Walsh on Supertalk 1270. And supertalk1270.com. Be right back.
Right now it's 53.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Supertalk 1270.
Can I take your order, please? There's a new thing out called the fast food song. It's pretty horrible.
You know you really want it. The voices I hear whenever you're around. I want it, I need it.
The new music musical sensation that's sweeping the nation. New from KTEL. Oh, I'm sorry. That's enough of that. You sit here listening to that, and you just pray for nuclear war. All right, Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com, and Jim Walsh, a high school senior attending a private Christian school in Maryland, and I'll put the word Christian in little quotationary marks with my fingers here. She's not going to get a chance to attend her graduation ceremony because she's pregnant. And the thing is, she owned up to it. She said, yeah, I made a mistake. I'm pregnant. I'm sorry it happened. Probably shouldn't have happened, but it did. And I'm telling you so because I don't want to lie about it. Well, isn't that what being a Christian is supposed to be about? But no. They don't want her walking the ceremony because, baby bump the cap and is going to ruin. Yeah, it's going. But why? Is it going to ruin the ceremony for the other kids? Is that what they're saying? The dignity of the ceremony? What dignity of the ceremony? Where's the dignity in defying the principles on which you supposedly have built your whole foundation, your whole school? It's based on Christian principles. Well, what is more Christian than forgiving someone for their mistakes, especially if they own up to it? What is the deal with this? It's ridiculous. Let the kid walk. Come on. 663-1270 is my phone number. I get so sick of these modern day Pharisees. They have all the they have all the rhetoric down, yet they don't live by it. They talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk on the water or otherwise. I really feel for this kid. And let me make something clear, too, about this. I am not suggesting, I don't think anybody in their right mind would suggest this school should be forced to let her walk. What I'm saying is it would be the right thing to do. Are you with me on that? I'd like to think so. 663-1270. Speaking of stories about kids graduating or not graduating, let's see if I can pull this up here. Somebody sent this to me. A high school honor student could lose her scholarship for showing her shoulders. Well, this happened in North Carolina. Another gold buckle of the Bible Belt community. An honor roll senior could lose her scholarships because she was suspended for wearing a top that showed her shoulders. There's a picture of the kid here. She's wearing one of those tops that kind of shows a little bit of the shoulders and her collarbone, and there's nothing. No, that's it. That's all it shows. The student, identified only as Summer, was wearing one of those loose, kind of hippie blouses that was slightly off the shoulder, exposed her collarbone. The principal demanded she cover up during lunch. And they report the principal asked Summer to put on a jacket. She said, well, I thought the shirt was fine. But the principal replied by saying her lower back was also completely exposed, going against the school's dress code. Summer said again she thought it was fine, but borrowed a friend's jacket to comply with the principal. I pulled it up over the jacket, pulled up with the jacket over it, zipped up the jacket. But it didn't end there. The principal reportedly told her to go to the control room to change her clothes. Yeah, what is it with these? Was it the principal or the vice principal? What is it with the vice principal in some of these schools? There's something about being a vice principal that makes you a serious butthead in some situations. I don't know. It's weird because in my capacity as a broadcaster, I visit a lot of schools. I have spoken about my career for like career day, a lot of high schools and junior high schools. And so I've been to a number of schools around the region and around the country for that matter, because I've lived in different places. And I swear to God, everywhere I go, every place has a vice principal. They're exactly the same. It's like they think they're some kind of Marine Corps drill sergeant. It's like the Marines light, disciplinarian types. How does that work? Do they just actually look for a specific personality type? It seems like all phys ed teachers are basically the same, personality-wise. And all vice principals are the same, personality-wise. This guy sounds like he was a vice principal because he's basically playing the game here, using the rhetoric. What's she saying here? Summer replied, I completely understand why dress code is put into place, but I feel like after I put on that jacket, it should have been subdued. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The principal said, you're violating dress code, cover that up, and she covered it up, and that should have been it, right? Right? No. Well, Summer says she had problems with this principal before. So much so that her mother now has to be informed of any disciplinary action taken against her child before it happens. Summer refused to go to the control room until her mother was informed. They can't take me anywhere unless my mother is called. So if I said, I apologize, I can't go anywhere with you unless my mom is called. Okay, maybe she has a history of disciplinary issues, but how good a student is she? From what I see here, well, she's got a number of college scholarships pending. That would indicate to me that she's a pretty good student. Says here a 4.4. I thought 4.0 was as high as you could get. Maybe she got extra credit. But it says here, it's sad because I worked hard for 4 years to walk across that stage. We have drug dealers walking across that stage. We have sex offenders walking across that stage. Yeah, but, it's not so obvious. That's the thing. It's like the girl who's pregnant. As long as you can't see that baby bump, then everything will be cool. Don't ask, don't tell. Right? Yeah, sure. So Summer says she fears her scholarships could be at risk since the principal is reportedly seeking to expel her, a move which her mother plans to appeal. And chalk up another one for formal education. Thanks a lot. Number here is, I do believe, what a crock, 663-1270. And, of course, you can comment online as well. I'll have the podcast of today's show up and running in the next day or so, basically just soon as I get good and ready and get around to doing it because I'm lazy. And I will have it up and running, though, and you'll be able to listen to it at your leisure and comment as you see fit. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com with more conversation. Your calls coming up.
Right now it's 53.
News and Views with Joel Heitkamp. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
Oh, I love it. A little Clockwork Orange music to get us going here this morning. All right, I've been talking about this student at this, quote, Christian, unquote, school who's not being allowed to attend her ceremony, not being allowed to walk in her graduation ceremony with a cap and gown because she's pregnant. And she made the mistake of coming clean about being pregnant. She said, yeah, I'm pregnant. And they said, well, you can't graduate then. And I'm thinking, why? Isn't it the Christian thing to do to forgive? Especially when somebody comes clean like that and says, fesses up. Isn't that just saying, well, you made a mistake, but we're going to hold it against you for the rest of your life? Spoken like a true Pharisee there. All right, Jim Walsh here at Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. My number, 663-1270. While we're on the subject, we're getting around that time of year for graduations, and last year it was my turn, believe it or not. No, I'm not 22 years old. Shut up. But I went back to school at a late age. I got my associate's degree over at Bismarck State. Then I got my bachelor's through Minot State, And I got my master's degree through Mary, which I got last year, right around this time. It was mid to late May when I walked in the ceremony at the Event Center, as it's now known. Sat there in the hot, sweltering arena for several hours. Who was the speaker last year? Some lady judge. That's to be honest with you, that's all I remember. Isn't that kind of a tragedy? Yeah, they get some world-class person that speaks. They get some person to come in, and unless it's the President of the United States or somebody of nearly equal importance, you tend to forget who the speaker was at your commencement. When I graduated high school, it was some dude from Time magazine. That's all I remember. A couple of years ago, they had Kevin Kramer. I bet they'd rather forget that one. All right. A story here about a high school yearbook. This happened in California. They published a high school yearbook. Yeah, we all remember the high school yearbook, right? And in this case, in order to save expenses, they decided to leave out the pictures of the students who didn't purchase the book. You buying the book? Nope. Okay, your picture's not going to be in there. You won't miss it. And we'll save a little bit of money. How lame is that? The faculty advisor is taking responsibility for it. Somebody decided that the non-purchasers didn't merit the inclusion. So in order to semi-fix the problem, the school printed up additional pages with the missing pictures. Well, that's kind of lame. You know, when I graduated, my senior high school yearbook, this is kind of a funny story now. They actually got my picture switched with another guy. Oh, a buddy of mine, Eddie Waterland. Eddie was kind of a class clown. I was not. But Eddie, my picture and Eddie's got mixed up. So Eddie's bio was under mine and vice versa. And what's funny is apparently nobody noticed, because when I went to the 20-year reunion, they gave me the little badge with my name on it and had Eddie's picture. Well, see, I can laugh about it now because that's the whole point, is that, kids, don't worry about it. In a few years, nobody's going to care. You are not going to care. Because who the hell actually looks at their yearbook once their real lives get underway? I looked at my yearbook for maybe a few weeks. It's on the shelf. I got it at the house. I got it at home. If it comes up in conversation, I may pull it out and look at the picture and go, yeah, I remember her, close the book, put it back. That's about it, really. I'm not one of these people who sits there poring over it, reminiscing, waxing nostalgic. No, nobody does that. Well, I don't. I would not want to, believe me, I would not want to hang around with the kind of people. There are people like that, I guess. There are people who just constantly dwell on how great their life was in high school. My life was not that great in high school. Mainly, I remember bullies, and I remember, not so much in high school, okay, middle school was more the bully thing, but high school, it was just a drag. I already knew what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to do radio. I wanted to get on with it, but I couldn't because I was still in high school, and I had to play their stupid chicken bleep games that you have to deal with in high school in order to get out and graduate. The main reason I go to reunions is I do have a few people I'm still friends with. Not a lot, a few. But the main reason I go to the high school reunion is just to remind myself how great it is that I'm not in high school anymore. High school was terrible. High school sucked big time. The big hairy bird. Oh, it was terrible. So when people tell me that it's a tragedy that your picture is not right in the yearbook, I just kind of, your life moves on. Priorities. That's all I'm saying. Priorities. I suppose there are people whose lives are just totally ruined by the fact that their picture, hair was out of place in their high school portrait. I'm not one of those people. Okay. Moments to remember. You feel kind of, when you graduate, you feel you're kind of sad. You're moving on to another phase in your life, and usually that lasts for about 12 minutes, and then you realize that you don't have to, you no longer have to ask permission to go to the bathroom anymore, unless you're going in the Army or something like that. Then that's fine, but generally, for those of us who are graduating to adulthood, and college is, of course, a whole different scene entirely. College, they actually treat you like adults. And you act like adults because you're treated like an adult. But the fact that you don't have to, if you want to go to the bathroom and take a whatever, you don't have to ask permission for it. You don't have to ask permission to step outside and smoke a cigarette. If you're sick one day, you don't feel like going to class, you don't go to class. Nobody asks you for a note from your mother. These are all the great things about college. And these are the things I certainly don't miss about high school. So what I'm saying is, to all the young graduates, congratulations. You've earned your right to graduate. But believe me, a few years from now, you'll be ready to move on to a few days from now, you will mentally be moving on to other things. And, if things don't turn out quite right for your graduation, don't worry about it. Yeah, I still think that one girl should be allowed to graduate, by the way, because she earned it. Even if she is pregnant. Hey, she fessed up. She told the truth because she thought it was the right thing to do. Why would you not reward that? Why would you not honor? Some girl gets pregnant. And she goes to the school board. She said, yeah, I'm pregnant. I made a mistake. I did it. But I'm telling you because I don't want to lie to you people. I don't want to have to worry about concealing it. And they said, okay, well, you can't walk into graduation. What a bunch of baloney. Come on. What's the matter with these people? Pious idiots. 663-1270. 663-1270 is the phone number. Love to hear from you here. Well, what else we got to talk about? I got a note from a friend of mine, and I've really been trying to avoid getting heavily into the Trump thing because you listen to every other stupid talk show on the radio, up and down the dial. That's all anybody wants to talk about is Trump. Mostly, what a great guy he is. For the record, I don't think he's a great guy. I think he's kind of a schmuck, actually. I always have. My line's always been you give a schmuck $1 million or $1 billion, what do you have? You have a really rich schmuck. Okay. I just like saying schmuck, it's just one of my favorite words. I'm not Jewish. I just like the sound of it, the Yiddish thing. It's the Lenny Bruce in me coming out here, or the Mort Saul, whichever. But a friend of mine wrote a little thing here. Let me find it. You actually may know the name of this gentleman, Steve Bryant. Steve's an acquaintance of mine. Very nice gentleman. We've spoken on the phone many times. Steve worked at QVC, the home shopping network. They're based out of Philadelphia, which, of course, is near my hometown. And Steve worked there for many years, then he got on radio for a while, and now he is, of all things, no kidding, a professional songwriter. And he's starting to do pretty well for himself. And I just think Steve is just a fantastic human being. Now, Steve wrote some comments. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, here it is. Steve made some comments about the recent developments in the whole Donald Trump saga. And I want to read what he says. I got his permission to do so because I really think he nails it. His views on the subject reflect my views, I'd say about 98%. So let me, this is Steve Bryant's take on the whole Trump presidency as things have played out so far, and it reflects my own views very closely, okay? He starts, like Brian Wilson, I guess I just wasn't made for these times. While people are trying to wish Donald Trump away, I'm hoping some miracle happens that changes him into a great president. While I don't think that is likely, it is my hope. I am getting real tired of the micro-scrutiny of the bows on the shoestrings are uneven, the posts that abound on Facebook and other media these days. I don't like or trust the man, but hoping for him to fail is like hoping that America fails. Now, if they get the necessary votes to impeach and remove him from office, which is unlikely, here comes President Mike Pence. Ever see a country run by a fervent religious ideologue? The Middle East is full of them. Different religion, of course. He says, I pray for America's success. If President Trump is found guilty, I hope we survive his successor. But again, the criteria for removal from office are understandably high. Oh, I'm not happy with the 2016 election results, but I would never hope and pray for my country's demise. Oh, except for the prayerful part, I'm with him 100%. Thank you, Steve. You're a good man, sir. We need to get Steve back on TV on a regular basis. Him and Ron Popeil, with the pocket fisherman or whatever. Steve is a very cool dude. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270, supertalk1270.com. More conversation, your calls coming up.
Right now it's 53.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Well, let's see. The president, Mr. Trump, referred to the terrorist, the Manchester thing. He said they're losers. People are upset with him for saying that, which I kind of don't get. Number here is 663-1270. Now let me make myself perfectly clear, if I may. I am not a Donald Trump fan. One thing you will not hear on this show, there's a lot of things you will not hear on this show that you will not hear on other radio talk shows. Because basically talk radio nowadays, it's a joke. It's Rush and his 10,000 clones. And then there's me with my own opinions. I don't feel compelled. I don't feel obligated to drink the Kool-Aid and toe the party line. Roger Ailes never gave me any money. He never did a damn thing for me. So I'm not gonna. I don't play that. That's a stupid game. It's a chicken game. I'm not gonna play it. But I am gonna say this. As much of a buffoon as I think the man is, I do believe you got to give people credit where it's due. When Donald Trump says that the terrorists are losers, really, it's kind of hard to take issue with that. And we're talking, of course, about what happened yesterday in Manchester, England, with the concert and a bomb that goes off. And one of the more sobering things about this, one of the tough things about this subject is coming up with a take on it. If you want to talk, you do a show like this, you can't just get on the air and say, well, this happened and that happened and this happened. Well, that's why you have a newscast. Okay, but we try to go, the idea with this show and shows like this is you try to go a little bit beyond that and talk about the issues behind the issues. And there's a couple of things that do spring to mind here. As an acquaintance of mine noted, one of the sobering things about the Manchester attack is not just that somebody chose to attack a place where they knew kids were going to be, children, teenagers, families, some parents. But here's the thing. What can you really do about it? At the end of the day, not a damn thing. Not very much. You can, if you choose, try to stay away from venues that the terrorist might think are sexy targets. If it's an issue that really concerns you, you probably would not want to get an office in the new World Trade Center. If you're concerned about that kind of thing, some are, some aren't. That's up to you. You know, it's like the old Cold War thing. They say if you're really concerned about the threat of nuclear annihilation, don't live in Minot, North Dakota. Well, and there were actually people who said, well, let's not live in Minot. And again, those things start flying. I don't want to be here. And, of course, for a lot of people, they say, well, I don't care. You know, it's just, let things fall as they may. It's an individual thing. But the point is, there's not a damn thing you can do about it. That's the first thing you have to deal with. And that's hard for people to deal with. It's hard for Americans to deal with the idea that there's a problem that they can't just fix using their good old American ingenuity and elbow grease. We like to think that we can fix any problem that comes along. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't think there's a solution for the health care thing. I don't think that's going to get fixed. Oh, I mean, it'll get fixed, but probably not in the way anybody likes. But in this case, the explosion, it wasn't inside the arena. The crowd exiting the building was the target. And by the way, the latest numbers, they've updated the numbers. They're now saying 22 people were killed. At least 22 is the way they put it. And you can imagine this happening at any kind of event. And you can second guess yourself until you drive yourself up the wall with thinking things like, well, they're looking for sexy targets. Their resources are limited, so they're going to hit the big targets, the giant venues. But really, how big a giant venue is Manchester? It's not exactly top of mind for most folks. We've heard the name. We know there is a city called Manchester in the United Kingdom, but how much thought do we really give to it? You would think London, they wait for one of the big soccer games or one of the big concert events at Hyde Park or something like that. But no. There's different schools of thought on this. And you can drive yourself nuts if you choose to, and I hope you don't. Which is exactly why they do what they do. It's another example of how our daily lives have been irreparably hurt by this issue. Even if the odds are that any individual one of us will be a victim are pretty low. Another thing on this, do me a favor. If you're going to talk about this, be very wary of saying that you're going to pray for the victims. That kind of gets to me. Now, if you're a truly religious, devout person, that's your business. I suppose that's one thing. But, for a lot of people, it's just kind of a knee-jerk thing. Pray for Nigeria. Pray for London. Pray for Baghdad. Pray for Dallas Police Department. Pray for Orlando. And so on. I'm starting to think the prayer thing doesn't work. We keep saying prayer for these people, and it keeps happening. I'm just saying, as a reflexive response, it rings kind of hollow to me. But again, that's kind of a personal thing. I will say this. Back to the President Donald for a moment here. When he calls them losers, he does have a point. They are losers. I do truly believe that these people are going to be on the losing end of history. They will wind up in the proverbial trash can of history at some point. Unfortunately, not before they kill a lot more people. But in the long run, they're going to lose. And I'll tell you why. Think about this. It's like with 9/11. This is very clearly what in the Army, I guess, they would call a rear guard action. This kind of thing is an act of desperation. If you've got to set off a bomb in the middle of a venue filled with children in order to make your point, that's pretty goddamn pathetic when you think about it. Don't you think? Just saying. It's like with the Russians and the Cold War. We all knew that system was going to die out. We were just hoping that in the process, if they crashed and burned, we wouldn't all crash and burn with them, Anyway. So, onward and upward, I guess. Sir Roger Moore passed away. In case you haven't heard it, he was 89 years old. Yes, he is Sir Roger Moore. He was knighted by the Queen, you know. They made him a knight. He gets down on his knees, and the Queen hits him in the head with the knife, and now he's a knight, or he was. Sir Roger Moore, known for playing James Bond. James Bond. He's passed away. He was 89. It says here, a short battle with cancer. Well, at that age, you know, I think we're all dying of cancer in the long run. You're going to die of something, probably cancer if you live long enough. But the statement was, thank you, Pops, for being you and being so very special to so many people. I always kind of liked Roger. I love that show he was in, The Saint, especially some of the early ones. One of the TV rerun networks was running The Saint on Sunday nights, and it had these really old shows from the early 60s in black and white. And they just had a certain, those old shows had a certain quality. And you had to really love it. Simon Templar. And of the Bond films, which one? I would say the first one he did was probably the best of the ones he did. Live and Let Die with Jane Seymour. And, of course, the McCartney theme. That was pretty good stuff. I would place him overall as number 3 in the Bond hierarchy. Connery, of course, is number 1. Daniel Craig, number 2. And then I'd put him right after Daniel Craig. He's kind of up there, you know. So, thank you and farewell, Sir Roger, a.k.a. Bond, James Bond. I have. Comments are welcome, supertalk1270.com. I'll have the podcast up and running for you in a day or two. We enjoy hearing from you, your comments, as you see fit. Jim Walsh on Super Talk 1270. Thanks for listening.